essential workers in Jeffco Public Schools, warmly known as the Jeffco Education Support Professionals Association. I'm Laura Center, Library Paraprofessional and President of JESPA, and I'm pleased to welcome you to the JESPA Candidate Town Hall this evening. With us tonight, we have several candidates, actually more than several, running for public office to represent us, the citizens of Jefferson County, Colorado. Each candidate in our town hall this evening has been endorsed by the Colorado Education Association based on their stated support of public education. That's what we're all about here. We applaud their supportive stance, but want to dig a little bit deeper into that this evening. Please welcome, by using the clapping function under reactions or clapping at home at the bottom of your screen. Tonight we have Ms. Lindsay Doherty, candidate for House District 29, Ms. Carlaesser, candidate for State School Board, Representative Chris Kennedy, running for House District 23, former Senator Andy Kerr, candidate for County Commissioner, Ms. Mary Parker, candidate for House District 22, Representative Brianna Titone, candidate for House District 27, and lastly, Senator Rachel Zenzinger, running for another term in office. A few of the candidates we reached out to who are running for office were unable to be with us tonight. Those candidates that were invited but had a prior engagement are Representative Lisa Cutter, Representative Monica Duran, and Representative Carrie Tipper. Representative Tracy Kraft-Tharp did respond, but expressed an inability to give a sincere response to the questions we will pose to each of our candidates. I want to extend a warm welcome to those candidates running for office who are with us this evening, and sincerely thank you for spending your time with us. We really appreciate it. Tonight, you will hear from a few of the hardworking support professionals in Jeffco Public Schools about their experience of living and working in this county. They will then ask a single question. Each candidate will have an opportunity to respond to the question near the end. I ask that all our viewers joining us on the call are muted during the presentation unless you're specifically called on. You can put comments in the chat, but I would urge you to really pay attention to what's going on tonight, because we want to listen closely to the stories, and we also want to listen closely to what our candidates have to say. I know that as your JESPA president, one of the most important things I can do is give you, our essential workers, a platform to speak your truth. So to all the Jeffco bus drivers, the assistants, the secretaries, our food service workers, our paras, our para-educators, our custodians, our maintenance workers, and so many others across our district who are out there quite literally keeping our students fed and transported and supported and able to learn in a nice, clean, warm environment. I hope that you'll hear something tonight that resonates with you and that educates you about which candidates for office truly represent working class values and has the best plan to help us realize those goals. With that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Mirna Gomez. She is a special education paraeducator in Jeffco. Take it away, Mirna.
Okay, can you hear me now? Okay. Hello, my name is Mirna Gomez. I am an SSN paraeducator at Dean Elementary. I have worked with the district since 2003. I am a single mom who has raised 3 great, successful young adults. I manage type 2 diabetes and severe chronic complex migraines. Working for the district as a para has been one of the most pleasurable positions I have ever worked. The part about my job that I love the most, it's when I'm in a place outside of school hours and I hear my name, Miss Mirna. And there's a tall young person looking down at me with arms opened, ready for a hug. The gratitude that comes from them melts my heart. It's at that moment I remember the teachers I had growing up. You see, I was one of those kids who relied on school to be the place to keep me safe and where I was going to eat a hot meal. My teachers did for me what I do for my students now. I can relate to many of them in many different ways. The gratification and joy I get from it, I am often asked by many, including my young adult kids, why I stay working in a school where I make so little. My answer is and always will be, I stay in the district because the lives of the students I work with matter. I love my job. In the past 4 years, staying has caused me to worry. I worry about how I will afford housing, how I will have enough food for me, how I worry about the necessities like shampoo, tissue, laundry soap, and not to mention the medications I take on a daily basis. The need for the supplies to maintain the type 2 diabetes is crazy expensive. Once again, I love my job. Staying with the district and trying to live on the present wages has caused me to fall so far behind in income. I need to make more to make ends meet. A person should never have to choose between a job they love so much and paying to keep a roof over their head. The job they have with the district should be more than enough. I need relief from the elected officials of our beautiful, wealthy state of Colorado. The particular relief can help me continue to be the person that students love to see when they come to school. More important, this particular relief can help mold our future judges, presidents, and elected officials.
Thank you so much, Mirna, for sharing that. Next, we have Lucia Orlando, who is a paraprofessional in our district at another one of our Title I elementary schools. Lucia?
So as Laura said, my name is Lucia. I've been working at a Title I elementary school as a special needs paraprofessional for over 6 years. I'm a single mom living with my 11-year-old daughter, and we pay over $1,200 a month for rent in a low-income apartment complex. They will be raising our rent next month to $1,350. I am forced to do remote teaching because my daughter suffers from severe asthma and also has allergies. I don't want to put her in any danger. I miss all of my students, but if there isn't a pay increase or hazard pay, I will be forced to leave Jeffco Public Schools and find another job in order to support my daughter and I. I don't want to leave my current job because I absolutely love my students, but financially, I have to take care of my family. I'm in this conflicting position where I have to decide between protecting my family and protecting the cherished students of my school. And simply put, I'm worried. I'm worried about what will happen to students that I have gained so much trust with, and I'm worried about my own daughter if I go back to work in the school in person. I need representatives at the State House, in the county commissioner's seat, and on the State Board of Education who realize the terrible position I and all school support staff are in. And most importantly, I would hope that you will do something about it if elected.
Lucia, thank you for sharing your story. Okay, our last testimony tonight will be from Matthew McCord. He obviously works here in Jeffco as a night head custodian at one of our middle schools. Matthew?
Hi, hello. Thank you everyone for having me and bringing me on tonight. My name is Matthew McCord and I am the head custodian of Dunston Middle School, but I'm also a parent. I know both as a worker and a parent that students need more support during these times during COVID. Schools are often understaffed because we are losing employees due to COVID. Lack of staffing means lack of support for students, more opportunity for mistakes to be made, and the cleaning and procedures of the school. COVID has made those cracks that students have been slipping through even bigger, drawing attention to the problems that we have all been aware of already. I, along with many others, were part of the initial workforce returning to our buildings during COVID. Sadly, when we returned, we were treated with the uneasy, sobering reality that follow-through for guidelines to ensure employee safety was not being prioritized. This and the fact that unless you were at a building with its own chiller, we also had to work with no AC and a severe lack of airflow, even though our supervisors at Building 4 and Board of Directors got to either work from home or an office with working ventilation. I feel frustrated that this needs to be said. I feel frustrated that I have to advocate for just even better airflow. It bothers me that the decision to provide AC for buildings was decided on the choice of either paying workers or providing AC. From mine and many other perspectives, this shows a severe lack of support and appreciation for staff and workers alike. Some of these issues are as small as anthills and can easily be solved, but instead are treated as mountains by those we rely on for leadership and guidance. They would rather talk about climbing these mountains instead of actually taking the steps forward to ascend and help solve these problems. So apparently this does need to be said because elected individuals from across the state continue to tell us about these problems more than about what they're doing to fix them. I'm demanding now that this is changed and our students, staff, teachers, and community can get the needed support to succeed in all facets of life. At the end of the day, real people with real lives are being underpaid, dealing with the lack of staffing, lack of follow through of safety, lack of support, and poor leadership. Like my parents taught me, if you make a promise, make sure it's one that others can cash. So now, elected officials, I encourage each and every single one of you, and I also implore you to actively listen, not to just what I have said, but what everybody else is saying tonight, and really give us a check that is not going to bounce once we cash it. Thank you.
Thanks, Matthew. So next, I'd like to introduce Doreen Edstrom, Principal Secretary at one of our elementary schools, to ask our candidates who have joined us this evening a few questions that have been weighing on our minds as we soon head to the mailbox with our ballots to cast. Doreen?
Hi everyone, I'm Doreen. I'm a principal secretary and I've been working in Jeffco Public Schools for 24 years. I've personally seen how chronic underfunding impacts our schools and our students. Right now, our students need more supports than ever and we don't have the time or resources to waste in our public schools. So that's why I'm going to ask each candidate for public office the same question and ask that you respond first with a yes or no. You may take about a minute to expand on your yes answer. We will start with Ms. Lindsay Daughtry, who is running for House District, sorry, I'm gonna have to move this, House
29.
29, yep.
Yeah.
Ms. Daughtry, do you support school workers like us who give students direct supports, a quality education, and ensure safe schools? And what will you personally do if you are elected to ensure a living wage and safety for these frontline workers?
Yes, I support all school personnel, and I can tell you, I directly see the impact that the whole school, everyone included, has on these kids that we're sending to school. I do guardian ad litem work, so I'm an attorney that represents abused and neglected kids. And without a functioning school where employees are paid and working conditions are, what they should be, especially given COVID and the current climate, we can't do justice for these kids that I try to be a voice for every day. Both my grandmas were teachers. My mom works in a school. She's in an admin position, and I hear from her every day the crisis we're having. So thank you so much for sharing your personal stories. I'd love to talk. I'm probably way over a minute at this point. I'm sorry. I'd love to talk more with you all whenever I possibly can. And I'd encourage you all to reach out to me. I'd love to hear more from you. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Ms. Carlaesser, who is running for State School Board. Ms. Esser, do you support school workers like us who give students direct supports, a quality education, and ensure safe schools? And what will you personally do if you are elected to ensure a living wage and safety for our frontline workers?
I absolutely support you. My entire career has been in schools, and I can honestly say, as a principal, there are two people in the building that you absolutely have to have there every day. One is the administrative assistant who sits at the desks and welcomes everybody when they walk through the door, and the other one is the custodian. Without the custodian, nothing functions. Absolutely nothing functions. I do believe a living wage is necessary. I do believe that the minimum wage should never be lower than what is needed for a person to provide the basics of a decent life, a house, medical care, food for their children. The state board doesn't have any purview over funding for schools. So that comes from the legislator, but there is a way for the state board to weigh in and say, this is why we can't get things done, because we don't pay people a living wage. And if somebody has to leave, they're going to leave and support their family before they stay in a position where they don't have enough for food and housing.
So are you willing to direct things in that direction?
Absolutely. With the limitations of what the board is charged with.
All right, thank you. Next, Representative Chris Kennedy, who is running for House District 23.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Mr. Kennedy.
I didn't know if you intended to repeat the question, but I've got it written down so I can save you the time.
Okay, go ahead.
So,
thank you.
Yeah, the answer is yes. I'm strongly supportive of all the work you guys are doing, and I think we need to pay you more, not just hold our ground. The things that I will commit to doing to support you include, one, prioritizing funding when we have tough decisions down at the state budget, which means saying no to more general fund for transportation, because the transportation interests need to go back to the ballot to deal with the gas tax, and going for more general fund money is not tenable. Two, I want to go bigger on closing special interest tax loopholes. We passed a bill this last year, House Bill 1420, that did a lot, but it didn't do enough. And we need to do more on closing special interest tax loopholes so we can invest those dollars in education. Three, I'm going to continue opposing income tax rate cuts like Proposition 116 and like the ones that have been suggested in the legislature, because the last thing we need to do right now is decimate our revenue base. And number four, I'm going to keep trying and keep supporting ballot measures like Initiative 271. You know, Doug Bruce passed Tabor through persistence, and it took him 3 tries to get it done until he found that sweet spot in 1992. We have to do the same thing. We got to keep trying with measures like 271 until we finally get it done.
Thank you. Next is former Senator Andy Kerr. Mr. Kerr, I'll read the question again. Do you support school workers like us who give students direct supports, a quality education, and ensure safe schools? And what will you personally do if you are elected to ensure a living wage and safety for our frontline workers?
So yes, absolutely. And as a over 20-year Jeffco teacher myself, I've worked with each and every one of you, maybe not personally, but certainly your positions. And in fact, Matt, I taught at Dunstan for 7 years. I attended Dunstan as a student, and my youngest son is attending Dunstan now. So thank you for keeping Dunstan safe and clean and attendable for him right now. I want to go to what Mirna and Lucia were talking about, affordable housing, which is something that a county commissioner, is what I'm running for, has impact on. We don't fund school, but county commissioners have a lot of impact on affordable housing. The way we're going to have employees in our schools who can afford to work in the schools is if they have affordable housing nearby and have dependable transportation to get from home to school. And so that's why in Jefferson County, commissioners need to make sure that that's a top priority, is making sure that our working families can afford to live near where they work and where their kids are going to school as well. So that is absolutely a top priority for me as a county commissioner.
Thank you. Next is Ms. Mary Parker, who is running for House District 22.
Hey, thank you. I do know the question now. And I understand, as far as the legislature is concerned, that the main thing we can do is help with funding. So I will be happy to work with Representative Chris Kennedy on all the issues that he mentioned. I have 2 daughters who are teachers, and I also have worked as a court-appointed special advocate for neglected and abused children. So I have worked with kids who need the wraparound services that exist in the schools and unfortunately are expected to come from the schools these days. I can't believe how many more services schools are providing these days other than just the education. I also want to say one thing about school bus drivers. I have had to transport a few kids every once in a while back and forth, and I can't imagine having to transport a whole school bus full of them. I don't know how you do it. But in any case, personally, I know the job that I'm going for can't do a lot to reallocate the funds, but I am more than willing to work with the school districts and to support the unions, such as yours, to help get you the recompense that you deserve and the support that you deserve. And I'm hoping we can find some funds, take it away from the exhaustive testing. I think there's too much testing done and other administrative work that is put into the schools, and maybe we could remove some funds from that. So anyway, I definitely support you guys. Thanks.
Thank you. And last but not least is Representative Brianna Titone, who's running for House District 27. Do you want me to repeat the question for you?
No, I know the question.
You got it.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, and I think everybody at the school is there for a reason. They're a part of a team, and everybody is a vital part of what makes the student's outcome a valuable one and one that they can take with them. So I absolutely support everybody who's on this call and who said their story. And a lot of the things that were mentioned are things that we've already been looking at and have been tackling. I mean, I had a affordable housing tax credit bill 1228, and I understand that even with affordable housing, it still goes up in cost, and we need to make sure that we are trying to help keep those down. I had another bill that kept the application fees down to a reasonable level for people who are looking for a place to live in an apartment because it was getting out of control. We helped to cap the cost on insulin to make sure people had that at a much more reasonable price than it was. I mean, it's still too high, but it's not 4 times as high. We're doing a lot that we can. And in the legislature, obviously, funding, as Representative Kennedy said, we do have some control over where that money goes. I'm very worried about this ballot initiative, which could lower taxes and cost us a lot of money. And I'm talking to people at the doors about it. I'm making sure that they're aware of it and know what the ramifications are to that. I was out when I was knocking on doors getting signatures for 271. I wanted to make sure that that got on the ballot. I'm doing everything that I can to try to get as much in the door as we can into our general fund so we can get it out to the right places. And the right place in a large part is for education. We're way behind and we have to get up to a reasonable level. Otherwise, things are really going to spiral out of control and we cannot let that happen. So
Thank you.
I support you all.
Thank you. And I think that's it for me. Laura?
Thank you, Doreen. Sorry about that. It took me a minute to figure out the mic. Yeah, thanks, Doreen, for emceeing that part of our event this evening. And I'd also like to thank all of the, the JESPA participants tonight for coming on. Lucia, Matthew, Mirna, thank you for your courage in coming forward and sharing your stories in a public platform. I think we have to continue being public and letting people hear our stories. And I just think we don't do enough of that. And so I really appreciate this evening's platform. I want to also thank those of you who got on our call tonight, our members at large out there, and those of you watching remotely from Facebook. Thank you. Truly, guys, without all your hard work, students quite simply wouldn't have school or the necessary supports they need for learning. Many legislators have offered us their thoughts and prayers and explained to us about the challenges of making impactful changes at the State House. Yet here we are, the lowest paid workers in the district, frequently able to leave our jobs and make more money serving hamburgers than serving children. And, we've just got to do better. We know that the thoughts and prayers are nice, but at the end of the day, it doesn't pay the bills. Our families and our students need us, and our students need consistency. And we just have to figure out a way forward with this, and we're feeling done. We're spent, we're feeling at the end of our rope. It's so important that we have this opportunity to talk to our elected officials who stand with us in our values and that can really commit to doing all they can to get us where we need to be. And most importantly, what we can do as voters to, cast our ballots and cast them from a place of knowledge and that we've done our homework and that we've talked to the people that we are electing and holding them accountable. I mean, we elect people so that they will serve us, and we have to hold them accountable to their promises. I want to say thank you to every one of our candidates. Thank you so much for coming out and engaging with us this evening. We have approximately 4,000 education support professionals in Jeffco Public Schools, and we appreciate you being here. We appreciate your candor and your honesty when answering our questions. And please expect to hear more from us. The membership of JESPA is we work to engage with you, our elected leaders, and really to demand better for ourselves and our students and the students we serve. Before we say goodnight, I would like to ask the JESPA membership to take one very important step right now, and just know that, go to the link that you'll see at the bottom of your screen, but know that we can't expect something different to happen unless you and me and our colleagues all do something different. So please click on the link and give us your feedback on the candidates you met this evening and how you think we can achieve the goals we share of a living wage for essential workers, full staffing, affordable housing, and robust wraparound services and supports for our students. Again, Thank you all for being here, and good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
You all.
Thank you.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Right, thanks.
Thanks.